absolutely right. And he speaks flawless Greek when he wants to. It is really great to be here. I was a little surprised, though, that this convention is being sponsored by Meg Whitman. I understand that she got a good deal, and then come to think of it, she's buying up everything, so why not the Democratic Convention? But I was also a little surprised when she said that she wants to run California like a business. I was wondering, what did she have in mind? Lehman Brothers? Or maybe Goldman Sachs? Well, this is an unprecedented moment in American history. A moment when we are facing problems that are truly devastating, despite the fact that the Dow is over 11,000. We know that no matter how massive the profits on Wall Street, Main Street is suffering, and everyone in this room knows that. And at a time when we are facing this unprecedented ongoing crisis, Democrats in Washington and around the country are confronting an opposition party that is acting as if they are not governing but participating in a high school debate. Which means that whatever the president and the Democrats decide that they want to go for, they are immediately on the other side, even if for years they had supported it. The Deficit Commission, they were for it, suddenly Obama was for it, and suddenly they were against it. Being tough on our allies, that was something that was a neocon dream, right? And yet there was Liz Cheney and the rest of the neocon peanut gallery criticizing the president for being too tough on Karzai. Can you just imagine if the president had not been tough on Karzai, they would be calling him a wimp. I mean, after all, there was Karzai talking trash about America, inviting Ahmadinejad into the presidential palace to talk trash about America, and according to Liz Cheney, the president should have been nice to him. Maybe send him a thank you card for not joining the Taliban. But the real danger that we are facing at the moment, more than anything else, is the decline of the middle class. The middle class is the foundation of America. As an immigrant to this country, you know, this accent is for real. I joked during a speech recently that I was really born in Fresno and I had cultivated this accent to give myself an air of being an ethnic minority. And I got 37 letters from people asking me how did I exactly change my accent, which explains something about the gullibility of certain parts of the American electorate. But anyway, as a naturalized American, the American dream has always been about being able to do better if you work harder and being able to have your children do better than you're doing. And suddenly, for the first time, we are confronting downward mobility rather than upward mobility. And just a few of the statistics. 1 in 5 Americans is unemployed, underemployed, or just plain out of work. 1 in 9 families can't make the minimum payment on their credit cards. 1 in 8 mortgages is in default or foreclosure. 1 in 8 Americans is on food stamps. And the economic crisis has wiped more than $5 trillion from pensions and savings. This year alone, 1 million homes will be foreclosed, and more than 11 million mortgages are currently underwater. And this comes after 3 decades of relatively stagnant growth for the income growth for the middle class, while the costs of providing health care and educating our children have skyrocketed. This is the kind of crisis that demands real urgency and that demands all of us to come together and treat it with the same kind of intensity that we brought to saving Wall Street. Do you remember? That famous weekend when everybody got together and they threw everything against the wall because they knew they had to get it right? Well, we don't have exactly the same sense of urgency right now, do we? And yet the danger of America becoming a third world country where the middle class is gone and we are confronted with the very rich and everybody else is very real. So that's really what Democrats need to do right now. The talk of bipartisanship needs to be looked at very carefully. Because what we need now is a bold vision for where the country needs to go, and then creating the consensus to get us there. At every great historical moment, whether it was the Emancipation Proclamation, the 19th Amendment, Social Security, Medicare, these things didn't happen because we all got together and split the difference. Abraham Lincoln didn't say, well, you know, the Emancipation Proclamation is a very unpopular document. Why don't we just free half the slaves? Or maybe free them from 9 to 5. That's not how you bring about fundamental change. Galileo did not go to the Pope and say, let's just split the difference. You know, maybe the earth revolves around the sun half the time. If he had done that, the maps that would have been produced to navigate would have led to a lot of ship drownings. And that's really what we're facing right now, when the media again and again call for bipartisanship in the face of the kind of opposition that makes it very hard to really compromise. And also remember, as Lloyd George said, you cannot jump across a chasm in 2 leaps. And right now, we are facing a real chasm when it comes to the jobs crisis. And yet the deficit hawks are winning. Trust me, I think the deficits are a real problem. But until we can put this country to work again, the highest priority has to be jobs. Contrary to what Republicans have been saying, the stimulus package did produce jobs, hundreds of thousands of jobs, but not enough of them. That's back again to trying to jump across a chasm in 2 leaps. You can't do that. And there is no greater and more urgent need right now, because the lack of jobs doesn't just affect our economy, it affects people's psyche, it affects the way they parent, it affects the way they live in their communities, and therefore it's directly affecting the kind of rage and anger that we have seen all around the country. It's very easy to dismiss this anger as just a product of a few crazies, and there are plenty of them, trust me, we know. But there is something more important underlying that, and this is a sense of unfairness, a sense of legitimate anger at the fact that there is a double standard in this country, that the fix is in and that the game is rigged. And you see that again and again. When you have, for example, companies like Merrill Lynch, like Bank of America, like before them AIG, being fined for wrongdoing. AIG, remember, before the meltdown, was actually fined $1.6 billion, and yet not having to admit wrongdoing. You wonder, why the double standard? Why, if you actually are fined for a crime you commit in the street, you have to admit wrongdoing? You bet you have.